Lesson 5.1D, Solve Proportions. So we're going to talk proportions. A proportion is an equation that states that two ratios are equivalent. It's an equation of ratios, one ratio equaling another. To determine whether a pair of ratios form a proportion, use cross products. You can also use cross products to solve proportions. So, first of all, you're going to be given some problems where you have to determine if the two ratios form a proportion or not. So they're going to give you these two fractions. And basically what you do, I'll say it's cross products, but I just simply go cross, cross. And where you cross, cross, that's what you multiply. It's a cross product rule. And if you multiply across that cross product and those products are equal, then yes, it's a proportion. If they're not equal, then no, it's not. So on this cross product, 20 times 18 is 360. 24 times 12 is 288. So this one would not be a proportion. So you're going to be doing the cross products, cross, cross. You're going to write what you're multiplying together. You're going to use your calculators to multiply, and if they come out to the same product, you're going to say yes, it is a proportion, and if they're not, you're going to say no. So we're going to go down to some problems like this and see if they are proportional before we talk about the actual solving. So let's look at number 1. Number 1 says 17 tenths and 12 fifths. So you do a cross, cross. So we need to do 17 times 5, and then we need to do a 10 times 12. A 17 times 5 is going to get you 85. A 10 times 12, what's that? You should be able to do that in your head. Jacob. 120. And we're going to say it's not equal. That's the equal sign with the slash. And since it's not equal, is it yes or no? No. It's no. Okay, number 3. 8 twelfths and 10 fifteenths. So on your paper, you'll write those down. And then you'll think cross, cross. And you'll write 8 times 15. And you'll write 12 times 10. So 8 times 15, you'll use your calculator, and you will get 120. And 12 times 10, what did we say that was?
120.
120. And since those are equal, what are we going to write? Yes. You think you got it? You cross, cross. You write the multiplication problem of each side. You use your calculator and write the products down. If they're the same, you say yes, and if they're not, you say no. Dylan.
So we're pretty much multiplying twice.
Yes.
And then that's it.
And comparing if they're the same or not. Yep. That's deciding if they are proportional. Yes. All right, does everybody have that written in red? Because now we're going to go to solving a proportion. This is more practical, the solving part, because, yeah, you sometimes need to see if things are proportional, but solving is going to be more widely used in a lot of different problems. So, example 2, it says 12 over 30 equals k over 70. So if we're doing this, you have the equation written down and then use the cross product. So I always say cross, cross, and you'd write 12 times 70 equals 30 times k. Now we know for sure it is equal because it is a proportion. At the very beginning, it is showing you that it is a proportion. Okay? So as you cross, cross, you solve. 12 times 70 is 840. 30 times k, 30k. And then we have to solve this equation. Divide both sides by 30. K is 28. All right, so now we're going to go down at the bottom. We're going to go down at the bottom and solve some proportions, all right? We're going to start with number 11, since that's probably the first one that you guys had to write the odds. So you're going to have the original problem, 3 over 4 equals 12 over C. This one you might be able to look at it and tell me what it is, but we're going to go ahead and do it the full step so you get kind of the idea of it. So I would do cross, cross, and I would write down 3 times C equals 4 times 12. 3 times C equals 4 times 12. Now what's 3 times C?
C.
Kind of a trick question.
3C.
3C. And 4 times 12?
48.
48. And how do I solve for C?
48 divided by 3.
Divide both sides by 3. And that is 48 divided by 3, which is 16. So C equals 16. So that's the work you're going to show, but you're going to let the calculator do the work for you if you need to.
Very hard.
Okay, number 13. Number 13. 16 24ths equals Z over 15. So cross, cross. 16 times 15 equals 24 times Z. So we're going to let the calculator do the hard work. 16 times 15, which is 240, equals 24 Z. How do I solve for Z?
Divided by 24.
Divide both sides by 24. Z equals 10. Oops.
This is not confusing.
Okay. Number 15. 14 over T equals 10 over 11. Cross, cross. 14 times 11 equals T times 10. What'd you get for 14 times 11? Anybody? Okay.
154.
154. And how do I write T times 10?
10T.
10T. Good. How do I solve?
Take 10.
Divide by, yep, divide by both by 10. When you're dividing by 10, what's that do to that problem? How can you just do that? What's it do?
0.
Maybe it has something to do with decimal point. Caden, what do you do? When you're dividing by 10, what's it do with the decimal?
It just takes away. Oh, you a carry one.
No. When you're dividing by 10, what's that do to the decimal?
I don't know. I don't usually takes away a 0.
Doesn't take away 0. I mean, it does, but there's no 0 there to take away in 154, is there? So since there's no 0 to take away, what would we have to do? Do you have a calculator handy? No? When you are dividing by 10 or a power of 10, however many zeros you have on that number is how many places you
Here's the decimal.
move the decimal. So we have one place. It's a 10. So where's the decimal in 154?
Right in front of the 4.
15.4.
After 4, so 15.4. 15.4. Okay, we're going to do number 17 and we'll call it a day. So 5 over y equals 7 over 16.8. Cross, cross. Now I would highly recommend on 5 times 16.8 you don't use the dot for times. Let's use parentheses. Wonder why?
What?
5 times 16.8. How come I didn't use the dot like I have on all the other ones?
Because it means the same thing.
Yeah, but why?
There's the decimal.
Because there's a decimal, and when you have a decimal, it's confusing when you use the dot. Because if you write the dot out of whack, you're thinking, well, where's the decimal and which one's the other, multiplication? So just use parentheses when there's decimals. And then y times 7. Who's got a calculator? What's 5 times 16.8? 84 equals, and then y times 7 is really what?
7y.
And then what do we do to solve?
Divide by 7.
Divide by 7. So y equals 12. Okay, I do want to add one thing to this. So I'm going to talk about how you would write a proportion. Does anybody have any question over those problems that are written there? Okay. Now we're going to look at a story problem where you need to write a proportion and solve it. Sue read 15 pages in 10 minutes. How many pages will she read in 25 minutes? So what you need to decide is what two things are you comparing. And to me it looks like you're comparing pages to minutes. Would you agree with that? She read 15 pages in 10 minutes. How many pages will she read in 25? So I always write like a little note to myself in front of where I would write the proportion. I'm comparing pages to minutes. And then to get a proportion, I always do this. Fraction bar, equal sign, fraction bar. And I fill in all the spots. Now one of them is going to be missing. And that's where we're going to put in what, Dylan? Do you think? A variable. A variable. Now my first ratio here is her 15 pages in 10 minutes. I write pages to minutes so I don't get them mixed up. I'm going to always put pages on top now and minutes on the bottom. I just randomly picked that. I could easily solve this problem with minutes over pages if I wanted to. It's however you pick it. So 15 pages matches 10 minutes. So it says, how many pages will she read in 25 minutes? Where am I going to put the 25, top or bottom? The bottom, because that's minutes, 25 minutes. So how many pages? I'm going to put P for pages. And now we're going to solve the proportion just like we were solving those at the bottom of the page from the last, the questions we were just doing. So we're going to cross, and we're going to go 15 times 25 and set that equal to 10p. Dylan already got this is 375 equals 10p. How do I solve?
375 divided by 10.
Everything divided by 10. So p equals how much? It's by 10 again. What do we do? Where do we move that decimal? 37.5, and you're going to answer this 37.5 pages. So over the next few days, you are going to have to write some proportions. So you're going to have to figure out what two things you're comparing. Maybe write yourself a note in front. Make sure that you keep the same thing on top over the same thing on bottom. So decide pages to minutes. Fill in everything you know. One of the spots will be missing. And then you will use the cross product property to solve it.